its last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
That's it for Julie Salfaro, sporting the Ultra Paper jersey today.
All right, Raymond, Tom, thank you very much. Nice job. Randy, would you like me to have the jump on or off? Okay, dump is on. Rima Oxholm is programmed and on. So let me know where we're at with that.
Hello and welcome back to Bobcat Football here on SportsNetUSA.net. I'm Matt Rogers alongside Ryan Osborn here on the campus of Saddleback College for today's game between the visiting Chaffey College Panthers and the hometown Bobcats of Saddleback celebrating their homecoming.
Yeah, Matt, you look at these two teams, you look at Saddleback 3-1, on the other side Chaffey is 1-3, and it's kind of a tale of two different seasons to this point. You look at Saddleback last week, didn't have the week that they wanted against Fullerton College, but on the other side Chaffey as well, a 52-35 loss to El Camino. The biggest thing, can Saddleback get their offense rolling early? If they do, it's going to be very good things for the Bobcats.
So Saddleback won the coin toss. They elected to defer, so they're going to be kicking off to start this game. And we're going to see the Panther offense on the field first. There's the kickoff deep. It's going to be taken about the 2-yard line. Comes out across the 15, brought down around the 21-yard line. And that's going to set up first down and 10, our first possession of the day for the Panthers. This Panther team comes in with a pretty strong passing game. The running game not quite as strong. What are you looking for today, Ryan?
I think the biggest thing is that rushing game like you were talking about. It is their strength. They're one of the best teams in the entire state of California in getting the ball up and down. So the question is, for the Saddleback Bobcats, can they get their rushing game going? On the other side for Chaffey, they have to go to the air, try and get those quick outs to get in rhythm.
Frankie Villalbazo, the quarterback, drops back on the first play, and he's intercepted. First pass of the game is intercepted. Out across the 30 to the 20, to the 15 to the 10, in for a touchdown. Noah Luganbill on the first play of the game with an interception return for a touchdown.
That's certainly one way to start it. You look at Luganbill, he goes back on this football, reads it very well. He goes over top of the route and is able to grab it with two hands, allows for his blockers to set up at the 15 and the 10, and he's into the end zone with ease. If you're Saddleback, picture perfect start for the way that you wanted to get this game rolling.
I don't think there could have been a better start to this game than what just happened, and we are 19 seconds into this game, and here comes the extra point. There's a flag. Chaffey jumped offside. It looked like they blew it dead before he got the kickoff, so I think he's going to have to kick it again.
You mentioned Luganbill. He's leading the team in tackles so far with 24. He's got 3.5 tackles for loss, and this is his first interception of the season. And now he has a touchdown to go with it. So far, Luganbill has been phenomenal for this Bobcat defense.
So one thing I can tell you is that turnovers have been a huge issue for Chaffey College this year. Coming into this game, 14 turnovers in 4 games. So they're turning the ball over more than 3 times a game. And here we see on the very first play, an interception return for a touchdown. The extra point is up and good. That makes it Saddleback 7-0.
And one thing I do want to point out is it all starts with the success of the defensive line getting into the backfield early, because if not, they don't allow for the quarterback to really set his foot and plant and deliver the strike that he wants to. Because of that, he gets underneath it a little bit. And that's what allows for Luganville to be able to get underneath that football and make the catch for the interception and touchdown, is the defensive line getting active pressure and not allowing the quarterback to be settled.
So for Frankie Villalbazo, that was his 5th interception on the early season. Chaffey uses 2 quarterbacks almost as much as each other. Villalbazo, more of a drop-back type of passer. They also have Evan Powell, who's more of their running type quarterback.
For Saddleback, trio of return guys for Chaffey in the middle of the field. It's Harrison. On the outside, it's Equilon. And Simon Zwick.
There's the kickoff. Going to be taken about the 10-yard line.
Zwick from the 10.
15 to the 20, and run out of bounds at about the 22-yard line.
Is run out by 24. Vaseline.
That was Simon Zwick with the return.
And Matt, you've seen a lot of community college football, especially in the SCFA. How often have you been able to see an offense give up a turnover early and have a lot of difficulty settling into a ball game the rest of the way because that first possession ends up being a turnover?
Yeah, it can really change the course of the game. And you see Frankie Villalbazo not out there here for the second possession, second play. It's going to be Evan Powell back at quarterback now. Evan Powell is more of a running quarterback. He has had some issues holding on to the ball. He's got 6 fumbles on the early season. There's the snap, and Powell's going to run with it. Not much there. Is driven back. Looks like a loss of 1.
Gavin Blum ends up getting the tackle. That's his 14th. You look at that defensive line for Saddleback College. Usually what we have seen is Marley McKenzie on the left-hand side with Iosefa Tapeni also on the left-hand side but down the middle, in addition to Gavin Blum towards the right, and Kaleo Brown, who is also up there in tackles for them. So that's the starting defensive line for this program. Jack Knudsen, in addition to Orlando Gonzalez and Jack Matrenga, are the starters at linebacker.
So that's going to bring up a 2nd down and 11. There's a swing pass, and that went backward. That ball's live. And it's picked up and fallen on by Simon Zwick for a big loss. And nothing is going right in the first few plays.
That's a tough one, too, because there was a lot of green grass to be able to look at. It was just a quick misdirection play, then out to the flat on the right-hand side. He had about 15 yards of untouched green grass on this right-hand side near the numerals. However, just wasn't able to keep his eyes on the ball first and secure it before looking upfield. He saw the opening before he captured the football.
So that's going to bring up a 3rd down and 24 deep in their own territory. Evan Powell, he's got Hakeem Halliburton in the backfield with him. Powell drops back to pass, and there's his first pass, and it is complete out across the middle to close to the 20-yard line.
In on the tackle for Saddleback, Landon Hodges.
That was Theodore Edkilong who made the catch.
And if you're the Saddleback defense, you're very happy with how these first 2 possessions have gone. Of course, getting the touchdown to open the game is going to bring a smile to your face. But being able to get a 3-and-out on the next one is the key.
Good pressure on the punt, not a very good one. Takes a bit of a Chaffey bounce out across midfield, and Saddleback's offense will take over for their first possession on their own 44-yard line.
So now if you're the Bobcats, you finally have the opportunity to bring your offense out onto the field. Matt, you were talking about Dudden earlier today before we came on the air, and one thing for him is that he's able to not only get success with his arm, but his legs as well.
Absolutely. He reminds me a little bit of Trey Cook last year, who found so much success in this offense, running Jeff Fisher's offense. Now Jeff Fisher has moved to the head coach, but running the same offense and just seems to fit into that offense as he drops back to pass, and that one's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. So a couple key injuries for the Bobcats on offense. Malachi Pierce, their 6'4" wide receiver, not going to be playing today. Kalele Pono Wong, one of their top running backs, he's not going to be playing. I'm looking for Kayvon Clark to get a lot of carries today. There's the pass out complete to Francisco Martinez. Martinez picks up about 7, going to bring up a 3rd down and short.
That's his 19th reception of the season. It's interesting, Matt. They go to the exact same play call that they had on the previous play. Just this time they get it over top of Jason Roberts.
So here we go, 3rd and 3. Bobcats moving quickly on offense. Kayvon Clark, the lone back. 4 wide receivers for Dutton. He takes the snap, drops back to pass, going to swing it out to Kayvon Clark, who makes the catch, slips a tackle across midfield, across the 40, and driven out of bounds at about the 36-yard line.
And anyone who has watched this Saddleback team through the early going is not surprised that it's Kayvon Clark who gets a broken tackle. I mean, we saw it a lot in the first game here at home a couple weeks back. Kayvon Clark has been phenomenal for this offense, and he's one of the best in the state right now in getting yards.
Tough snap. Dutton's able to pull it down. He's going to keep it and run with it out across the 30 and brought down after a pickup of about 8.
Difficult play that takes a lot of concentration there, Matt, because that ball hits his arm, pops up into the air. He makes sure that he keeps his eyes on it. But you see Kayvon Clark run with him. He presents him another option just in case Dutton wants to go back to him, and he sees the linebacker commit to him. Doesn't do so he takes it to the outside for a gain of 7.
That play right there kind of highlights the athleticism with Dutton. There's the handoff to Kayvon Clark up the middle, and you just don't bring Kayvon Clark down. He just pushes forward. Looks like a 2-yard game, and when everything is said and done, it's 6 yards.
Jason Roberts gets another tackle here. One of the strengths for this Chaffey defense when you're looking at the defensive line has been the 2 nose tackles, one of them being Jason Roberts, who has been able to help with the run game. However, if Chaffey wants to be able to get back into this ball game, they have to stop Kayvon Clark, who's been the key.
Dutton takes a snap, turns, fakes the handoff to Clark, and swings that one out to the outside. That pass is caught by by tight end Nico Lopez. Pickup of 7 yards for Nico Lopez. So Dutton's thrown 4 passes and completed to 4 different receivers. There's the handoff to Clark. Bounces off a tackle, bounces off another tackle. And before you know it, it's a 5-yard gain and another 1st down just outside the 10-yard line. So it's going to be 1st and 10. They can still get a 1st down at about the 1-yard line.
You look at this offense, where they have their success is making sure that they take passes to the outside and then run it up the middle. They create that opening and that spacing towards the middle with those passes towards the sideline.
Tyler Dutton, 3 wide receivers, is going to hand this one off to Clark. Clark bounces to the outside, and they were able to control him. Just a pickup of 3 there for Kayvon Clark.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's Isaiah Moreno who ends up getting the tackle there. And it's a nice job there by Moreno. He's able to find that gap on the outside, just get outside the tackle, and make sure that he presents himself. Doesn't give Clark a chance to go and bounce it to the outside.
That's going to bring up a 2nd down and 7. Chaffey really hoping to hold to a field goal attempt here. There's the pass out to Francisco and out across the 10-yard line. Francisco Martinez back to about the line of scrimmage, not much there.
Colin Henry's the one on the outside who's able to fight through a block and be able to force Martinez back into help.
So this is a big third down for Chaffey right here, trying to get off the field.
So far, Saddleback 42%, 26 of 62 on third.
Dudden drops back to pass, looking into the end zone. He's got a man, and it's a touchdown. Kyle Bailey. His first touchdown of the season.
And the way you draw that up is you allow for Gentilella to go to the outside. Two different guys, one of them being Lopez, the other being Gentilella, go up right to the goal line, make a right-hand turn, and immediately present themselves to the quarterback. So what that does is it brings the linebacker over, and the free safety, who's looking to see where his options are, ends up losing the guy in behind, and it's a touchdown.
Extra point is added on, and we are 7 minutes and 58 seconds remaining in the first quarter, and it's 14-0 Saddleback.
If you're watching it, looking at Saddleback and saying, okay, is this what we can expect the entirety of the season from this offense, and then also them putting up points all together? The answer is yes, and that's the way that the offense has been going so far. 33.8 points per game. They're averaging just under 500 yards per game, which is absolutely incredible, especially in Southern California. You know this well, Matt, seeing Southern California football. When you have a team that is averaging close to 500 yards, you're going to have a lot of success, and that's why they're 3-1. Their only loss right now is to a team in Fullerton who's currently ranked in the top 8.
Right. And they have some real quality wins as well. That win last week against Riverside being one of them. So this is Coach Fisher told me at the beginning of the year, he said this team is better than the team from last year, and that was a really good team last year.
And correct me if I'm wrong, they also took Riverside basically to the limit last year and were one of the teams who were so close to upsetting the RCC Tigers.
So there's the kickoff return brought back to about the 26-yard line. Yeah, this team has been really good for the past couple of years, and you can see the progression from last year to this year and the step forward. And this offense is just really, really clicking on all cylinders right now.
And it also helps when you have two quarterbacks who are able to run your system successfully, because then you don't look at either quarterback and say, okay, we're going to have a little dip in play here. Both these two quarterbacks for Saddleback, in Nicky Johnson and Tyler Dudden, are both able to manufacture offense almost at will.
So Chaffey back out on the field, and it's going to be Frankie Villalbazo back in for his second drive. Well, I don't know if you can really consider the first one a drive. It was a single play. He ran that ball to his left for a pickup of about 2.
Zach Ballo is the one who ends up getting the tackle there. 7th of the season. One thing, too, for Chaffey, they like to go over top, and if you're Saddleback with Roman Harden, he's got 4 pass breakups. He's going to be a guy to watch on this right side.
There's the pass, and it is intercepted. Intercepted by Damari Washington.
And it's my mistake there, Matt, because I told everyone to look at Roman Harden on the near side of the field. The pass goes to the other side, and Damari Washington, very same play as we saw earlier for Luganville, where he ends up going over top of the route. The ball is just overthrown just a tiny bit, but it's enough to land into his hands. Acrobatic play as well to be able to catch that, make sure he has at least 1 foot in bounds, and get possession. Now that's 2 takeaways early for this Bobcat Bobcat defense.
So let's see if the Bobcats can capitalize once again and go up 3 scores before we're even out of the first quarter. Dudden drops back to pass. Is going to swing this one out and caught across the 40-yard line, close to the 35-yard line. That was Ben Stewart with the reception.
Stewart so far this year, 9 receptions, a little over 50. We'll call it 57 yards if my math is correct, which I didn't go to school for math, so you can always check me on that. But he has a long of 10, and then he is also been pretty key in trying to help out drives and get out on third down. So to see him getting going early is going to be good for the Bobcats.
There's the play action, swung out. That's Ben Stewart once again. Close to the first down, but I think he's going to be just a hair shy.
And if you're the Bobcats sitting at 27 of 63 on third down, just about 44%, you have to be able to make sure that that clip goes higher and higher as you continue into conference play.
It's going to be 3rd down and 1. Leonidas Bell in the backfield with Tyler Dudden. There's the snap and the handoff to Bell. Bell goes up the middle. He's got the first down and a lot more. Pickup of about 4 yards there. Coming in to take over at running back is Darian Campbell. Darian Campbell made his season debut last week. He was their leading rusher last year. Missed the first few games, came back last week, ran the ball 7 times for 6 yards. But he was a really good running back for them last year and brings another dimension to this offense. Dudden looking downfield, and that pass was over the head of Gage Galbraith.
I think that pass is kind of in between 2 different routes. You had Galbraith down the middle of the field, and then on the far side of the field, it was Joseph Walter who was going on that streak pattern towards the pylon.
There was a holding penalty, though.
Offensive line, Gabriel Alvarado on the left-hand side. He's also going to be joined by Tyrone Portis, in addition to Jalen Philo. Right side being Greg Shade, and we'll get you that right tackle as well in just a little bit.
1st down and 10 at the 15-yard line. There's the handoff to Campbell. Campbell looking for some room on the outside, unable to find it, tries to come back the other way and is brought down behind the line of scrimmage. A loss of about 1 there for Darian Campbell. Been slow going for Darian Campbell so far this year. 8 carries for 5 yards.
Right-hand side, just to finish that off, Cademan Wood is your right tackle.
Dudden's got 3 wide receivers. He's got Campbell in the backfield with him. Takes the snap. There's the handoff to Campbell, who goes up the middle. Campbell's about back to the original line of scrimmage. Going to bring up a 3rd down and long. 3rd down and maybe 9 yards to go. Chaffey desperately trying to make a stand here, force a field goal attempt. And Saddleback has not been good with their kicks this year, just 3 of 6 on field goals. Dudden drops back to pass, gets a little pressure, but gets that one away. He's got it complete. Touchdown, Joseph Walter.
How often do you hear wide receivers coaches look at their guys and say you have to catch the ball at the apex and make sure that your hands are in motion. Don't allow for that football to come up to you and surprise you and get too late into a pass. Make sure that you're going up for it and make sure that your hands are in motion. You present them, you're going to have a lot of good things happen. That's exactly what Walter does. He beats his guy right past the end zone line, or excuse me, the goal line, and he ends up bringing his hands up, and it's a good physical catch there by Walter to make it a 3-score game.
Kick is up and good, and with still 4 minutes and 6 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, it's 21-0 Bobcats. And we saw a few blowouts around the state today, and this is looking like it might follow suit.
Yeah, I ended up making a drive from Fullerton earlier today where I witnessed a 71-12 matchup. So that one was right up there with the blowouts, and I'm sure we're going to get to more of the out-of-town scoreboard, not only at halftime, but later in this ball game as well. But like you said, this one's starting to not necessarily get out of hand, but the Bobcats do have control early on. You see the replay here with Walter. He's going to beat his guy on that right-hand side, coming across the goal line, but that's where the key is. He goes up high, makes sure that his hands are swinging from left to right. Hands are in motion. It's a strong presentation, and he's able to haul in the catch and keep his foot in bounds. So 21-0 is our score. Saddleback really starting this game off pretty well. And if you're looking at points off of turnovers, Matt, right now, it's 14.
So the fourth kickoff return of the day for the Panthers, taken back to about the 25-yard line before he runs out of bounds. They're gonna spot this one at about the 27-yard line. We'll see if Villalbazo gets to come back out there or if it's going to be Evan Powell. Villalbazo really, really struggling early. Has thrown an interception. And it's going to be Evan Powell. First and 10 for Chaffey. Evan Powell takes the snap, fakes the handoff to Halliburton, goes around to the right side, picks up around 4 yards before he's dragged down there.
If you're going to give credit to someone there, it's got to go to Emon Carter on this left-hand side. He's fighting through a block, but he's still able to set that edge and force the guy back into his help towards the middle.
So 2nd down and 6 for the Panthers. And there is a flag with the snap. Evan Powell pointing towards the Bobcats. But his team is walking backwards.
You got to see this team last year as well, Matt. You look at the defense for this program going from last year to this year. You said last year was a very good team. Coach Fisher feels that this team could be even better than last year's. What's the biggest difference on defense that you've seen?
I think the biggest difference that I see from last year's defense to this year's is just the pressure. The pressure they're putting on the quarterback. There's the handoff out to the outside. Unable to find anything there is Halliburton. Yeah, there's just they're putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback and not giving him time back there to make decisions, to move through his progressions.
Right now, defensive line really giving them a great opportunity to, like you mentioned, get into the backfield. We've already seen them put 3 pressures on the quarterback. 2 of them have led into interceptions.
Well, and one of the big things that they're doing is they're putting pressure with 4. Like, they're not blitzing. Their defensive linemen are getting that pressure as that pass is complete and the first down of the day for the Panthers. Justin Benson with the reception there for the first down. Powell drops back to pass. He's looking downfield. There's the pressure, but Powell's able to race away from it and pick up a good gain there, pick up of about 5.
And that's where the benefit of having a mobile quarterback comes in, is that you're able to get heavy pressure in the pocket. Pocket collapses, forces him to the outside, but he's able to use his legs and get outside, find a lane to the opposite sideline. And if you're Chaffey, you like to be able to see that. If he can get himself into a rhythm, it'll help their offense get going.
Powell drops back to pass. Once again, pressure. He's able to spin away from it again And he picks up a few yards, going to bring up a 3rd down and 1. Chaffey definitely has struggled with their 3rd down conversions, just 35% on the year.
Yeah, and it was Knudsen initially who was going to get the pressure, and it looked like he had the guy right at the 41-yard line, but just the extra step and extra opportunity there from Powell gives him enough.
There's the pressure up the middle. Halliburton able to weave his way through. There is a flag. Looks like that might have been a hold. Everyone's coming back.
Holding, offense number 44 White, 10-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
Justin Price, the tight end, called for that hold. So now instead of a 3rd and 1, you got a 3rd and 11. Powell sets up with his running back, Hakeem Halliburton, behind him. He's got 3 wide receivers. There's the snap. Pressure once again, gets this one away. Pass is complete, but nothing there. Pushed out of bounds is Halliburton. It's going to be a 4th down.
It looked like Genova was the one who got the initial pressure. And it's real tough for Powell to be able to find his receiver. He's looking over to his left-hand side to it look like, as you mentioned, Hakeem Halliburton. But when you have a guy that is rushing directly towards your face, you can't see over him with the fact that you're trying to process that that extra rusher is coming in. So you try and float it over top, but in this case, it just wasn't in stride.
Here comes the punt. Lots of pressure once again. He gets it away, and once again there's a Chaffey bounce. And it's going to be picked up at the 28-yard line for Saddleback.
You got a few seconds left in the first quarter. When you look at this Saddleback Bobcat offense, now they get another chance to take the field. Matt, if you're looking at it from Tyler Dutton's perspective, you got them on a roll in the first opportunity that you had. You end up with a touchdown and a touchdown pass. How do you make sure that you keep this momentum rolling into the second quarter?
I think you got to keep your foot on the gas here. Don't let up. Keep doing what you're doing. Tyler Dutton's on a roll. There's the handoff to Jalen Beverly Rushing. Beverly Rushing picks up 3 yards, and that's going to bring us to the end of the first quarter. So through 1 here on SportsNetUSA.net, it is the Saddleback Bobcats 21, the Chaffey College Panthers 0.
Don't forget, we have a lot of games here on SportsNetUSA.net. So if you want the opportunity to keep up to date with community college sports, you can do that right here on SportsNetUSA.net. Albert Robles over to my left-hand side, continuing to cover East LA, who is here on SportsNetUSA.net. So if you're thinking, hey, you know what? Yeah, I love football, but can I find some volleyball? Well, you can do exactly that right here on SportsNetUSA.net. So stay tuned with SportsNetUSA.net and the homepage. You can find out what the weekly schedule is going to be, and you can make sure that you align your schedule with our schedule and keep yourself up to date with community college athletics. SportsNetUSA.net continuing to bring you the best community college athletics out there.
So you got to feel that through 1 quarter, I don't think Saddleback could have asked for a better first quarter than what we just saw.
Yeah, you look at Saddleback, I mean, just to recap, right? First 3 times that they had the football, and I'll put an asterisk on that, technically had the football. You end up getting a pick 6, that gives you the football. You get the football back, all of a sudden you find yourself in the end zone. Then you end up getting another interception, you find yourself in the end zone. So if you're looking at it from Saddleback's perspective, everything is clicking offense and defense so far.
There's the handoff to Beverly Rushing up the middle, pickup of a few yards, but there is a flag.
And real quick, while they take a look at what the flag is going to be, we give you an out-of-town scoreboard where Butte ends up losing to Sequoias here today. If you are interested in Northern California football, And if you're saying, you know what, I'm not a Northern California fan, can I have more Southern California football? Well, Riverside ends up pulling away from Palomar at the very end. 62-49 the final, a 13-point win for Riverside at home. They end up getting a win, and as we mentioned earlier, Fullerton 71, Orange Coast 12, a final there as well.
So there was a hold on that last play. Going to set up a 2nd down and long. Going to stick to the ground. It's Beverly rushing once again. Up the middle, not much there for him.
And it's interesting because if you're Chaffey, one of the things you said to yourself coming into this matchup is we have to be able to make sure that we don't allow for the rushing game for the Bobcats to get out of hand. Because you look at the rushing game for the Bobcats so far this season, they're averaging well over at least 150 yards per game. So you can limit that, you're going to have success. The defensive line for Chaffey has done that pretty well in the first quarter, but if they're going to stay in this matchup, they're going to have to keep that rolling.
Yeah, it doesn't help when you stop the run game, but the passing game is working as well as it has. Dutton rolls out, going to get that pass away, but it's incomplete.
That pass looks like it's going to be broken up by Elijah Gordon on the outside. Gordon was just going match for match, step for step with that route. He ends up popping out in front of it and realizes he's not going to get to the football fully, but as long as he can get a hand in to disrupt things, he's going to be just fine. So he swats that one away. It goes to the ground, and it's the first 3 and out for the Bobcats.
First punt we're going to see. That was Jody Perez he was looking for, unable to haul that one in. That punt is going to take a Chaffey bounce once again back across midfield, and they're going to take it over in Saddleback territory. So first real chance for Chaffey to maybe get something going here. They made a defensive stand. Now they get the ball in good field position. I hate to say that it's a must-have this early in the ball game, but when you're down 21-0, they've got to get some kind of positive. Even if they don't get points, they've got to move the ball.
Yeah, and Powell so far this season coming into this game, 37 rushes for 156, averaging about 39 per game, and just over 4.5-ish per carry. That's what's been successful in the early going for them and their offense. If they can get him to the outside, get him an opportunity to run, that's where they're going to pick up those first downs.
There's the completion out across the middle, across the 30 to the 25, and the ball comes loose. The ball comes loose at the end of that play. And the Bobcats have it. 3rd turnover of the game. First good play for Chaffey in this game, and it ends in a turnover.
And if I'm not mistaken for this defense, it's going to be Cohen Alley, or Ollie, who's going to end up getting the turnover there, or at least the recovery. And if you're looking at it from the Bobcats' defensive perspective, you get 3 takeaways in the first half. One just 8 seconds in, the second one on the second series, now the first series of the second quarter, and it comes after a huge completion here, Matt. That's the key in this one, is the fact that it was at least a 25-yard gain that was going to get that offense rolling.
So we'll get our first look at Nicky Johnson, and his first pass is complete, but that's a fumble picked up, and this one's being brought back, and he loses the ball.
Looks like Chaffey is the one who ends up recovering it. They do indeed, so it'll be at the 1-yard line.
Wow.
That's a pretty good way to end up describing it, if you don't mind me saying so. It was just a quick little pickup going to the outside and just punched out in time. It looked like, if I'm not mistaken, that ends up being Elijah Gordon, who we talked about earlier, who ends up getting the fumble initially. It pops out of his hands, and now Chaffey has an excellent opportunity here to get themselves points after what has been, we'll call it a very hectic 3 minutes.
There's the snap and the handoff. And nothing there for Halliburton.
The key to that one right there is going to be Knutson. He was able to get into the backfield pretty quickly, and he stops it just before he gets back to the line of scrimmage. So if you're the defensive line for Saddleback right now, The biggest key is that you have to get yourself into the backfield successfully. It'll start with Genova. You also have Knutson there as well. And then Iosefa Tapeni. If they can get penetration and get themselves past the initial wave, you have a good chance at stopping this.
So it's Evan Powell with Halliburton in the backfield with him. Halliburton unable to get anything that time. He's going to move in motion this time, and there's Powell. Powell up the middle, pushing forward, but not able to get there.
But here's the thing. He loses his helmet on this last play, so he's going to have to come out unless they call a timeout here. And it changes the way that the offense is going to be set up here for Chaffey because Powell is a threat with his legs. Now you have to go back to a different quarterback. Changes the play call.
So Villalbazo back out there for this third down because of that helmet. Takes away that threat of the run. Not that Villalbazo can't run. He's not the same kind of threat. Hakeem Halliburton in the backfield with Villalbazo. There's the snap, high snap, handoff to Halliburton. Halliburton pushed back. He's not going to get it. Another stop.
Just like you said, another stop. This time it's Ali once more. That's going to be his 11th tackle this season and his second tackle for loss. And it looked like initially he had room off tackle on the right-hand side, but a great closeout there by Ali to make sure that he isn't able to get himself across the goal line.
So they're going to go for it on fourth down. They're not bringing Powell back out. They're leaving it up to Villalbazo. He's got 5 wide receivers. I would watch for that quarterback sneak, though, even though he's not Powell. Pressure right up the middle. There's the pass. It is low, but it is caught. Touchdown, Chaffey.
And it's a tough one there because Dominic Lopez is the one who tries to get over to that in coverage. And it will end up being caught there.
Theodore Ed Keelang.
So there you go, by Ed Keelang. And for Lopez, he did everything he absolutely needed to do. Knutson also gets into the backfield to make sure that there's pressure. But that ball kind of floats over towards the near side pylon, and coming back for it is Ed Keelang. And it's kind of a throw that no one can get to except the receiver. And it allows for them to get on the board.
Extra point nearly blocked, but gets up, and it is good. So it's 21-7 Bobcats. After that big fumble recovery by Elijah Gordon, who fumbled it himself on his return, but then recovered it himself on the 1-yard line, Chaffey is able to finally get across the goal line and put some points on the board, and they needed it.
Now you're looking at it going, okay, points off of turnovers are 14-7, right? Because you have the interception, pick 6 to start the game off. Then the next interception leads to 7 for Saddleback as well. But if you're looking at it from Chaffey's side, you're taking a deep exhale, little bit of relief. Yes, you have to get yourself back into this ball game. But remember, it was a fumble after a 25-yard pickup that gave Saddleback the football. And then all of a sudden to see the Bobcats give that right back up, you take that little bit of relief where you can get it because it ends up giving you those points right back on what initially looked like was going to be an electric start to a drive.
So it'll be interesting to see how Saddleback responds here. Do they try and establish the running game? Do they stick with the pass? There's the kickoff. Brought in at the 11, across the 20 to the 25, the 30. He's out across the 30 to the 35 to the 40, across midfield to the 50 to the 40, and he steps out of bounds, but a great kickoff return. Jagger Blaukamp nearly busted that one.
At this point, the question is, what isn't going to be in this football game?
So here we go. 1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. It is Nicky Johnson still out there. Remember, he threw the pass that was completed and fumbled on the last possession. There's the snap and the handoff. Kayvon Clark, pickup of 2. Going to set up a second down and long. Nicky Johnson's got 4 wide receivers, 1 to his right, 3 to his left. Fakes the handoff to Kayvon Clark. That pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. It hung up there for a little bit, but it falls to the ground, and it's going to bring up a 3rd and long.
And I think that credit should go to Jason Roberts. He ends up getting into the backfield, puts his hands up just in time because there was that pass just off to the flat, a couple yards up, and it was going to lead to at least 10 yards.
Am I mistaken? I believe that's his second pass that he's, yeah. 3rd down, there's the handoff to Kayvon Clark. He's going to go around the outside, past the 30. He's going to be about 3 yards shy of the first down. Going to bring up a 4th down and 3. I mentioned some of the field goal kicking problems that the Bobcats have had this year, and I think they're going to keep the offense on the field and go for this.
Well, you look at last week, they actually bring in a different kicker. Manuel Maganda ended up going 2 for 2 with a long of 35 yards. So not quite in that same range that they had last week.
Nicky Johnson with the hard count, trying to get someone to jump offside. Play clock down under 10. Let's see if Nicky Johnson takes the snap here. He's got Kayvon Clark in the backfield. There's the snap. There's the handoff to Clark. Clark is pushing his way forward, but he's not going to get there. So after the big return by Blaukamp, the Bobcats are going to walk away with nothing here. And after a touchdown and now a big stop on defense, you got to figure Chaffey might be starting to puff out their chest a little bit and say, hey, we're still in this game.
And it's a great chance for them to get themselves back into this ball game. Like you mentioned, 21-7 is our score, and after the last opportunity, they not only get a defensive stop, they get a takeaway, they march themselves down to the 1. And here's the other thing, too. Matt, you look at that play call on 4th and goal. They could have gone for the points, but instead they end up going for it on 4th and goal. They get the touchdown. That brings them back into it. And they don't get discouraged by the fact that there's a big-time return. They're still able to get back into it defensively.
So here we go, Chaffey taking over the ball. 1st and 10 on their own 26. Powell's the quarterback. He turns and hands the ball off up the middle, pickup of 3. That was Halliburton with the run. And I haven't even gotten a chance. I wanted to mention the Halliburton brothers for Chaffey. 2 very important players on this Chaffey team. Both guys playing both sides. So you've got Hakeem and Yakim. One's a freshman, one's a junior. One's a wide receiver. The other one's a running back. Hakeem is the running back. There's the pass complete, but not much there. Nehemiah Harrison with the reception. Just nothing there. Going to set up a 3rd down and 7. Big 3rd down for Chaffey here. Powell drops back to pass, getting some pressure. He's going to run for it. Tries to wiggle his way out of there. Does a little bit of a spin, but can't get there, and it's going to bring up 4th down. And just like that, it seems that some of the offense has dried up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's difficult defensive line for Saddleback, really setting the tone on that series. And the question is for the Bobcats, now you've got a couple of series that haven't gone your way. How do you respond? How do you get yourself back into it? Nicky Johnson came out on the last 2 series. The question is, does Tyler Dedden come back?
Once again, a lot of pressure on the kick. Grabbed by Ben Johnson. Not much there. Ben Stewart, I'm sorry. Ben Johnson, of course, was a famous sprinter. That would be weird for him to be returning kicks.
Or if I'm not mistaken, the new head coach of the Bears. So either
It would
one.
also be weird for him to be returning kicks.
Either one. It would not work.
So they're going to stick with Nicky Johnson. This is the third possession for Nicky Johnson. Going to hand this ball off to Beverly Rushing. Beverly Rushing still on his feet, pushing his way forward. It looked like he was brought down after a pickup of 2, but he ends up getting 8 on that. They give him 9 on that play. Going to set up a 2nd down and 1. Johnson rolling to his right, looking to the sideline, gets that pass out to Joseph Walter, incomplete. We haven't seen them try and get Gentilella involved yet.
Yeah, and last game that we saw here at home, Gentilella was pretty active early on. If I remember right, he had 4 receptions in the first half. He was key to getting their offense going. Now, if you're Nicky Johnson, you got to be able to find someone that gets you rolling into a rhythm.
Nicky Johnson going to try and push his way forward, but he's not going to get there. That's going to bring up a 4th down. And it looks like Jeff Fisher's going to leave his offense out there on 4th down in his own territory. This is a gutsy call right here.
Fourth down so far this season. They're 1 for 2.
Nicky Johnson taking this under center, going to turn around, hands the ball off to Beverly Rushing, and I don't think he got it. He did not get it.
He's going to get a favorable spot if they go to the far side official. Near side official has him a yard short.
There is a flag on the field. So the handoff to Leonidas Bell, and if it were me, if I was going for that, I would have had Kayvon Clark in there, but
Approachment against the defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And it's against the defense. Chaffey, after making a great stop, are going to give up the first down on a penalty.
That's a tough one because, like we mentioned, the near side official had him just about a yard and a half short. So if you're the defense, you had an excellent chance to get yourself off the field and get your 3rd straight stop. But now it all flips right back over, and this Bobcat offense can go back to work.
Nicky Johnson with the handoff to Bell. Bell looking to the left, and did that ball come out?
Far sideline initially reacted like they thought it did, but if it did, Saddleback still maintains possession.
A pickup of 3 there for Leonidas Bell. Second down and 7. Ball right at midfield. Nicky Johnson looking to pass, gets that one away, complete. That's Francisco Martinez with the catch.
Second effort there by Martinez. He was about 9 yards up when he makes the catch. He makes the initial turn, realizes he's going to get contact right at the sticks, so he takes one move over to his right, goes about 5 yards, turns it back upfield, and gets the first down.
So Francisco Martinez has been pretty active so far in this game, and as I'm looking out on the field, Nicholas Gentilella isn't even out there right now. So I don't know if maybe something is wrong with Gentilella. I see him on the sideline, but he's not out on the field. First down, Johnson drops back to pass, looking downfield, nothing there, but he's going to run with it. Nicky Johnson showing his legs. And a big play for Nikki Johnson and a first down.
It's all about stepping up into the open space that you can get. Two defensive ends end up moving and going past his hips, and once you get too far upfield, it's very difficult to be able to maintain that spacing that you need for a mobile quarterback. Johnson sees that he doesn't have anyone open downfield, so he takes the open lane presented.
Foster Slaughter tried to strip that one and wasn't able to come away with it. There's the handoff up the middle. I've been waiting all day to say Foster Slaughter. That's a football name.
That is a great football name.
Darian Campbell picks up 7 on the carry there. Going to bring up a 2nd down and 3. There's Campbell once again. Not much there. Close to a first down, but I think he's going to be about a yard short.
For Saddleback, you're looking to at least get points before you go into the half, because remember, the Bobcats are going to get the football coming out of halftime as well, since Chaffey ends up losing the toss and Saddleback deferred to start the opening quarter.
And if you remember our first game together, the first home game, that was a huge turning point. Saddleback scored at the end of the first half, got the ball right back and scored at the beginning of the second half, and just putting those points on the board, were able to extend their lead and kind of put their foot on the neck of Citrus at the time.
Yeah, and you look at this Saddleback team, they've got to be able to keep their wins up, especially in conference play, the way that playoff seeding now works. It's going to be completely different this season, and it goes kind of in a 1 through 6 sort of order. Top 2 teams in each division or each league essentially getting into the playoffs. Away go the technical at-large bids that we have seen in the past. Top 2 seeds find themselves with a bye, and then the bottom 4 will play each other and move on to the next week. So if you're Saddleback, you've got to be able to stay up in your conference. Of course, you get the loss to Fullerton, but if you can continue to roll like they did against Riverside last week, that's going to be very, very big for them later on in this season. So they cannot afford to leave points on the board in a matchup like this.
So it's going to be a 3rd down and 2 after Chaffey took their first timeout of the game. There's 3 minutes and 16 seconds left here in the first half. Nikki Johnson under center, turns, hands the ball off to Darian Campbell. Campbell pushing his way forward, but he's going to be short. Saddleback really struggling with these short yardage situations.
Looked like Roberts was in there initially and also joined by Avila Lopez.
Coach Fisher keeping his offense out there on the field.
Also watch out for Dejournette Simmons on the left-hand side.
So here we go, 4th down and 1. And Saddleback's going to use their first timeout. 2 minutes, 25 seconds remaining here in the first half. Saddleback leads Chaffey by a score of 21-7 here on SportsNetUSA.net. And what it initially seemed like it was going to be a bit of a blowout, Chaffey has gotten their way back into this game. Bobcats can go back up by 3 scores here if they put some points on the board on this drive, but it just feels different than it did in that first quarter. That first quarter felt like this game was out of control for Chaffey, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like they do have a stake in this game still.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at how the game started off. First 3 times that Saddleback touched the football, they were in the end zone. And it was 21-0 before anyone could realize what was going on in this football game. For Chaffey to not only be back in it, but get themselves an opportunity here to possibly get away with another turnover on downs is huge.
Darian Campbell blown up in the backfield.
And
Saddleback walks away with nothing.
That is the man who scored or who was almost in the end zone earlier. That is Halliburton, who gets into the backfield quickly, and he is able to make that tackle. And it's huge, too, because not only does he make the tackle, but it's a wrap-up. He makes sure that he gets underneath the pads or underneath the shoulders, gets right up to his hip, and is able to make a big-time tackle, because too often you see guys try and go for that higher hit to make it a little bit more highlight reel, and they lose the guy. They lose him for a second opportunity into a first down. In this case, you wrap him up, and you're able to get yourself off the field.
So huge play for Halliburton, and that's why I highlighted the Halliburton brothers at the beginning of this game, because those two guys are huge for this Chaffey team, and Hakeem just made a huge play. It was going to be a Villalbazo at quarterback for this last second drive. Villalbazo going to keep that ball. Not much there. And that should run us down to the 2-minute timeout. So we got 2 minutes left here in the first half. 21-7 is the score.
Yeah, and if you are looking around California and you say, you know what, I love community college football, where can I get more of that? Well, you can stay right here on sportsnetusa.net, as we will continue to have the Saddleback home games right here on sportsnetusa.net, in addition to East LA home games and matches, and some volleyball as well. So if you're looking for more community college sports, you stay with sportsnetusa.net, as we bring you the live game action throughout the entirety of not only this season, but this year as well. We're also a leader in baseball and softball too. Maybe you're looking for some water polo. You can watch that here on sportsnetusa.net. And soccer as well. Men's soccer, women's soccer, all of that will be here on sportsnetusa.net. We remind you to keep updated with the homepage here on sportsnetusa.net, and you can find out exactly what games are going to be happening during the week and what the upcoming schedule will be as well. So, sportsnetusa.net, bringing you all the football, softball, soccer, water polo as well, and bringing it to you live.
So basically what you're saying, whatever your sports pleasure is, you can find it right here.
That is exactly right. The leader for community college athletics and sports is right here on sportsnetusa.net.
Second down and 5, 2 minutes left here in the first half. Panthers trying to get some points before the end of the half. Villalbazo in at quarterback. He's going to roll and get this one away. That's Halliburton on the catch. Halliburton takes it out of bounds at the 30 for a first down. 1 minute he's blowing up a tackle in the backfield, and the next minute he's making catches going the other way.
And that's one thing that if you look at this Chaffey roster, they do have a lot of guys who play on both sides, offense and defense. So these are a lot of athletes who are able to make those big plays. And you look at Halliburton, you talked about it at the start of the broadcast and throughout. He is a key component of both sides.
Villalbazo getting chased down, gets this one away, but that hangs up there, and it's intercepted, and he's going to take it back all the way. A second pick six for the Bobcats. Jaden Humphrey. And just when the Panthers think they're back in this game, a second pick six.
It's a difficult one there for Villalbazo. He's getting chased on this left-hand side by Gavin Blum, and as he's moving over to his right, he's starting to realize he's losing that race. Blum has plenty of momentum, and he's in the backfield, so he ends up tossing this one up, looking for his receiver just off to the right at about the 25-ish yard line, but by the time that it actually lands, that ball is easily into the hands of Humphrey for another pick six. So you got two in the same game. And it's going to be interesting to kind of look at the record books. I know that Saddleback recently, if I remember right, 2 years ago, they had two pick sixes in the same game as well. So now we're going to have to take a look at the record book and see what exactly is the record for most interceptions leading to touchdowns.
Justin Price looked like he had a chance to make that tackle, but unable to, and Humphrey takes it all the way back.
And going back to what you were talking about, that's difficult for Chaffey because they were very close in this one just a few moments ago. 3-4 minutes of active time ago, Chaffey found themselves not only just trailing by 21-7, but they got themselves off the field with a big-time fourth down stop inside the 15-yard line, and they were about to get themselves rolling on offense. All it takes is one floated pass, and you find yourself chasing a 3-score lead.
That's what you call a momentum eraser right there. There's the kickoff, going to be taken at the 10-yard line out across the 15 to the 20 and the 25, across the 30, and he's pushed out of bounds around the 32-yard line. There's a minute 36 seconds remaining here in the first half, and we'll see if Chaffey tries to put something together here in that minute 36 seconds. They do still have 2 timeouts. They could try and get down the field and get something out of this drive, or do they go back to the locker room, lick their wounds, and hope to come back strong in the second half?
A few moments ago, we were talking about making sure if you're Saddleback to get yourself points on the board before you get into halftime, because you're going to get the ball back to start off the third quarter. We just didn't think that it would come from their defensive side of the football, considering how close they were to the end zone. If you're Chaffey, you do have plenty of time to get yourself up the field. If I remember correctly, they have 2 timeouts left. So you've got plenty of time to get yourself working towards the sideline, and you have the timeouts to stop the clock if you need it.
So it's going to be Evan Powell back in at quarterback. Neither quarterback having any success for Chaffey today. That pass is complete to Price out across the 40 to the 45 and stopped around the 47. Big tight end Justin Price. There's the handoff to Halliburton. Halliburton bounces off a tackle, bounces off another one, still on his feet out across the 45, and a nice run by Hakeem Halliburton there. Hakeem Halliburton.
And that is a grown man stiff arm right there. He gets to the outside, he extends his arm, makes sure that he keeps the defender at extension length, and he was just able to outmuscle him to the outside.
Powell dropping back to pass, looking downfield, nearly intercepted there.
Price is kind of kicking himself too, because that was a bullet that goes right into the hands of Price, and he has that hit both of his palms and fall to the floor. But what's difficult about tracking that football is, like you mentioned, you start to look up and realize that the defensive player has a beat on the football. So in the back of your mind, you don't expect it to actually make its way to you. And once you get past the defender and you see that ball in your hands, it's a little too late.
So strangely, this has been their most productive offensive drive here with two first downs. Remember, the only score Chaffey has was on a 1-yard drive. Powell drops back to pass. He's looking downfield. He's got a man. It was in his hands, but unable to pull it in was Jordan Woods.
And I'll say this, when you look at Powell's last 2 throws, yes, they haven't been complete, but they've been extremely well placed. You look at that one on the replay, that's put in a spot where only his receiver can catch up to it, and it's on a line, it's on a laser. So if you're Powell, those throws are going to be there. However, in this case, you want to find a guy who's not going to be in that double coverage like you saw on the left-hand side of the field.
So 51 seconds remaining. This is a 3rd down and 10. You got to wonder if they don't get it. Are they going to go for it on 4th down? Powell, lots of pressure on the screen. Gets that one away. Nothing there. That was Jackson Rios Vargas with the reception.
They were just trying to set that up about 5 yards downfield. You let the defensive line get into the backfield so that way when that throw goes over top, you have a little bit of extra time to work into the second level. But in this case, once the ball gets over to him, he's already got a defender right on his hip.
So they're letting the clock run. There's about 17 seconds left. The offense is still on the field. You wonder if they're just going to take maybe a deep pass into the end zone. I don't know if Powell's got the arm to get it there.
They might call a timeout right before the half ends here.
So they do call a timeout. So the assumption being that they're going to try and throw the ball downfield and try and get something here. Worst case scenario, another interception, but unless it's brought back for a touchdown, it's not really going to make much of a difference. Turnover is the story of this game.
Don't forget, coming up at the half, we'll have some of the rankings across the state of California, and then also a little bit of an update on the out-of-town scoreboard. We know that we gave you a couple scores from down here in the south and then also one from up north, but we'll give you the entire comprehensive lineup of scores from across the state of California, the 3C2A, and some of the rankings to give you the context on why those matchups are important. All of that is coming up at the half.
So Saddleback sets up with 4 defensive backs deep on the goal line. Powell gets away from a rush, and he's just going to go down, and that's going to bring us to the half. Flags fly.
So initially it looked like one of the offensive linemen for Chaffey ends up getting knocked down. That was Joseph Nicastro. And then he ends up giving it back to a linebacker for Saddleback. And from this side of the field, it looked like it may have been Landon Hodges. If I'm not mistaken, both of those should end up getting personal fouls. And if that is the case, they should offset. And we'll go into the half.
Time expired during the play. After the play, we have personal foul against the offense. We have personal foul against the defense. Penalties decline. Halftime.
All right, so that brings us to halftime here on SportsNetUSA.net. Our score, Saddleback 28, Chaffey 7. I'm going to swing it over to Ryan, and he's going to take you through our we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a little bit.
And we welcome you back to Saddleback Football here on SportsNetUSA.net. My name is Ryan Osborn, and you'll hear from Matt in just a little bit as we are here at the half, and we want to bring you some of the out-of-town scoreboard across the 3C2A. But first, before we do that, let's get to the rankings and why those scores are important. Now, you have San Mateo, who came into this week at an unsurprising first place, 14 first-place votes to their credit, and Butte, who comes in at number 2. Golden West at number 3, who is going to be important for this Saddleback team later on this season. They are currently 4-0, with Ventura also at 4-0. They have a big win over top of Fullerton earlier this season, and they slide in at number 4. Now, the rest of the Southern California teams are a surprising Southwestern, a team that not a lot of people thought would be in this spot at the start of the season. But the Southwestern Panthers so far have been doing excellent. The Jaguars, as the Jaguars are 4-0. They did not receive a first-place vote, but they go up from number 9 up to number 6. Now, Mount Sac drops to number 8 with a loss last week. They're now 3-1, and El Camino, beating this same Chaffey team last week, goes up to 3-1, and Fullerton slides up to 3-1 and takes over at number 10. As we talked about earlier, number 11 is Saddleback, so those Saddleback Bobcats are right up there near the top 10, and with a win today, they can slide back into the top 10 for the first time since the start of the season. Now, as we get to the out-of-town scoreboard and how everything shakes out in California, you look at Butte, who we just talked about a few moments ago. They were number 2 in the state of California in the 3C2A. Well, that's going to change because Butte ends up losing to College of the Sequoias 42-38, a final. They go on the road and just couldn't get it done, and the College of the Sequoias gets a 42-38 win. Down here in Southern California, we mentioned Riverside pulling away late. They finish with a 13-point victory over top of Palomar. That is a final. Fullerton 71, Orange Coast 12, a big-time rude awakening in conference play for the Orange Coast Pirates. Golden West and East LA 56-14, a final. Golden West continues to stay undefeated. They are 5-0 now heading into the bye week. Staying down here in Southern California, you take a look at Antelope Valley and L.A. Pierce. Antelope Valley all over L.A. Pierce, 61-7, a final there. And then if you want to look at a couple more ranked teams, San Francisco 48-28 over top of Sierra. They played that one at home. And then back here in Southern California with Allen Hancock, a 23-21 win over Long Beach. A team in Long Beach that a lot of people thought would be contending for a playoff spot in Southern California. They now have their 3rd loss of the season. We wrap things up with San Mateo and Fresno City, 20-14, and then you stay here in Southern California with Mount Sac all over top of Moore Park, 47-9. Santa Ana losing to Citrus, who we saw earlier this season, 24-14, and El Camino and Mount San Jacinto, 21-19. That is at the half with Canyons and Cerritos. It's Cerritos 17, Canyons 10, which brings us right back to Saddleback and Chaffey, which is currently sitting at 28-7, Saddleback with the lead. So a little bit of a shakeup with that Butte loss, going from number 2. Now they're going to drop down, considering that College of the Sequoias was sitting outside the top 15. And Saddleback has a chance with the win here today to slide back into the top 10 now. I bring back Matt as we take a look at the halftime stats and the scoreboard. It's a 28-7 lead for this Bobcat squad right now, Matt, that it seems like the defense has been leading the way.
So, yeah, just 94 yards of total offense for Chaffey there in the first half, plus 4 turnovers. Yeah, that's the story of the game.
And you look at the rushing stats. I mean, you look at this Bobcat offense. Rushing-wise, it seemed like they had really been one of the best teams in all of Southern California in terms of rushing the football and how much success they can get with it. But if you are looking at it from Chaffey's perspective, that is one thing that they can hang their hat on pretty well here in the first half of play, is that in the first 30 minutes, they were able to hold the rushing attack for the Bobcats pretty successfully.
I mean, the Bobcats only able to put up 78 yards rushing on 20 attempts, and 21 of those came on that scramble by Nicky Johnson at the end of the first half. So they're really holding down the Saddleback running backs. Kayvon Clark, who you and I have kind of marveled over so far this year, just 6 carries for 22 yards. He's not putting up those big plays that we've seen from him in our first game and in the games that we haven't covered, but we've been keeping an eye on. So that is something to hang their hats on. The big bugaboo for Chaffey moving forward is they are going to have to limit these turnovers if they want any chance in this game.
You mentioned the turnovers. 2 turnovers on their first 2 offensive possessions. They also have a fumble besides that. If you are looking to eliminate turnovers and you're Chaffey coming into the second half, about to go on defense, how do you make sure that you go into halftime and kind of settle yourself down?
That's going to be the question. You know, this is a great reversal there, but there's a flag that comes down. This is going to be a big return, but it's going to come back. There's another flag going to be taken all the way back.
If I'm not mistaken, that should be a hold on the left-hand side of the field. That first flag that we saw, no one is really going over to the right to celebrate, so it seems like everyone's in one accord, or of one accord, thinking that this one is coming back.
So Roman Harden with an excellent return, but a couple of flags there, and I believe they're both against Saddleback. Doesn't look like anyone's celebrating it, so.
There are multiple fouls on the play. We have holding against the receiving team at the 29, 30-yard line. We're going to take that one and go back 10 yards. First down, red.
So a hold is going to bring that back
At the 30.
all the way back. And Saddleback's going to start with the ball first and 10, up by 3 scores here in the second half.
So the defensive line for Chaffey has done a pretty good job. Now, most people, when looking at a halftime scoreboard, they see 74 yards of rushing offense put up, and they say, okay, that's a lot. What are you guys talking about with success? But again, going back to the averages for Saddleback so far this season, they're close to, if I'm not mistaken, close to about 215?
226.
226. Okay, so there we go. See, like I said, didn't go to school for math, but I'm happy to be within about 10 to 12 yards of that. If you're able to hold them to what looks like back-to-back halves of a total of 140, that's success so far.
So Saddleback's going to start with the ball on their own 20. Dutton takes a snap. Looking out across the middle for Walther. There was a flag on that. Clear pass interference. Clear hold there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they're going to give him a hold on this near side, as it looked like Walter was breaking out, going towards the middle into that pass. He ends up being tugged from behind, and right on what you were talking about, pass interference call, and instantaneously it's the first down pickup.
And we finally see Nicholas Gentilella out there. We barely saw him. I can't recall seeing him on the field for the first half, so I don't know if there was an injury, if there was a discipline, something going on there, but we did not see Nicholas Gentilella out there, but he is definitely out there to start the second half. Dutton takes the snap. Great block by Kayvon Clark to set him free. Dutton gets around the corner, and Kayvon Clark back out and throws another block. And Tyler Dutton with a 16-yard run there.
One of the most important things you can teach a running back, besides the skills to be able to get up the field with the football, is can you pick up a blitz? And this time Chaffey sends one on the right-hand side with Halliburton. He's into the backfield, but picking it up nicely was Clark, and then to be able to have the presence of mind to get up the field and block once again to set another opportunity for extra yardage is huge.
There's the handoff to Clark. Clark going to get some yardage of his own out across the 40-yard line and pushed out of bounds at the 39. A pickup of 13 for Kayvon Clark. Biggest run of the game for him. And biggest run of the game for any Bobcat back who is not a quarterback. First and 10 from the 40-yard line. Saddleback looking good on their first drive of the second half. They're leading this game by 21 points. Dudden fakes the handoff. He's going deep with this one. He's got a man, but overthrows him. He was looking for Nicholas Gentilella. First target of the game for Gentilella, and he had a step, but that was just a little bit out of his reach. Second down and 10 here on the first drive of the second half. Saddleback leading 28-7. There's the handoff to Kayvon Clark. He spins out of one tackle, pushes his way forward, going to pick up about a yard, but nothing really there for Clark. Brings up a third down and 9. Here we go, third down and 9. There's 4 wide receivers for Dudden. He's got Kayvon Clark in the backfield with him. Dudden drops back to pass. He's got good protection, gets that one away, and it is complete. That was Gentilella with his first catch of the day. That's going to be close to the first down.
And that's what having a very tall, sizable outside wide receiver does for you. You're able to throw that ball up and high, let him go up and get it, and still be able to come down with what initially looked like a first down. But what they're going to rule is that he finally had possession just a yard short.
So it's going to bring up a 4th down and 1, and we've seen on several occasions today Coach Fisher is not going to kick on a 4th and 1. He's going to go for it.
Yeah, otherwise this would be a 48-yard field goal.
Lots of pressure. Dutton gets away from it, swings that one out, and he's got it complete.
Looks like it was Mason Fromm who ends up coming up with the catch. You give him a lot of credit because he realizes when he makes the initial turn that his quarterback is in trouble. So he's waving his arms right about the 30-yard line, asking for it, calling for it. That ball is just kind of floated into the air in the general space of where Fromm was going to get to it. Makes the catch, turns upfield, and gets about 3 to 4 more.
And that kind of goes to show the difference in how receivers act, because that was very similar to that second pick six that was thrown by Chaffey, where he was getting chased down, he had to put it up, but threw it into coverage and ended up with the interception. Here you had your wide receiver stop, get himself open, make some room, and Dudden was able to find him for a first down.
And coming back for the ball is also huge, too, because he doesn't just move his way upfield and stop. He takes 2 steps in to come towards the football, so that way he would be the only one who would be able to catch up to it.
So that was a 2-yard run by Beverly Rushing, going to bring up a 2nd down and 8. Dudden looking into the end zone, looking for Gentilella. Gentilella went up, was not able to get to it, and Gentilella has not come back up. So Gentilella, who missed the entire first half of this game, comes back for this first drive, makes a catch, goes up for another one here, and is struggling to get back up.
It's a difficult one there, too, because you saw him get that first catch a few moments ago to get them close to the sticks, and he is a very important part of this offense for just how well he's able to use his size to his advantage. So you really do want to see, if you are a Bobcat supporter, see him be able to recover quickly and be right back onto the field.
Coming into this game, Gentilella tied with Francisco Martinez for the most receptions on the team, led the team in receiving yards, one of 4 receivers who had 1 touchdown coming in. So the offense going to continue without Gentilella. And it's a third down and 8. Dudden takes the snap, drops back to pass, has some good protection, gets that one away, unable to find his man and nearly intercepted. He was looking for Bale.
Looked like Halliburton was the one who was there just a few moments ago. He ends up going right past that route, and that ball was on a line. However, it was too far out in front, and it was difficult to be able to get to that.
So they're going to bring on the new place kicker, Manuel Maganda. He did hit his first 2 attempts last week. His long was 35. This one's going to be about 37. There's the snap. The hold is good. The kick is up, and he got that with plenty of distance.
Yeah, that would have been good from 45, let alone 35.
So 3 more points on the board for the Bobcats. They extend their lead to 31-7 on a 37-yard field goal by Manuel Maganda. He is 3 of 3 since taking over the kicking duties from John Richardson.
So you look at this Saddleback team, the offense, not really as electric as we thought they would be coming out of the first quarter of play, but they are still able to get themselves yards and still able to get themselves points. Now, if you flip it over to Chaffey's side, now at this current moment, you're trailing it by 24 points, so just a little over 3 scores. So you're at a 4-score game. So the question is, how do you make sure that you get yourself back into this ball game? And I think the number one thing that you have to do is play to your quarterback's strength. If you're going to bring out Powell, you have to get him out and running, get him to the outside, get him opportunities to be able to go out and use his athleticism to gain you yards.
That ball is misplayed on the kickoff, and he's going to be brought down on the 1-yard line.
That was very and awfully close to being a safety. It should be just inside the 1-yard line. So like you were saying, Matt, that was real close to being inside. He ends up picking the ball up in the end zone right there, brings himself back out, and makes a turn towards the goal line. But when he gets tackled, he does stay outside of the goal line, inside the 1. And if you're the Bobcats, you have a chance to put this away very quickly with a defensive stop.
Well, you made a comment earlier in this game, and you said, what does this game not have? Well, I can tell you one thing it doesn't have so far, and they're about half a yard away from getting it. There's a snap and the handoff. Going to be wrapped up in the end zone, and it's a safety.
So you can check that box off as you see him going over towards his left-hand side. He's just trying to get away from that hold for
Roman
a
Harden
couple extra strides. And like you said, Roman Harden's the one who ends up getting the finisher there just outside the C in Saddleback. And if you are the Bobcats, you're real happy with how your defense was able to not only get a hold per se, but you get the football right back. Because that safety, you go 2 points on the board, 33-7. And now you're looking at it from Chaffey's point of view saying, well, we had a moment in the second quarter where we were in this football game. It was just a 2-score game. We had the momentum, and we took the football away. Now it's starting to get away from you. And if you're Chaffey, you have to rely on your defense and your defensive line here on this next series to get you back into it.
So that brings the score to 33-7 Bobcats, and that's the second possession in this game, second one-play possession for Chaffey that resulted in points for the Bobcats. Not sure how many times that happens in a game for many teams. So far at this point, it's 17 points for the Bobcat offense, 16 points for the Bobcat defense, 7 points for Chaffey. There's the free kick, going to be taken by Harden, sorry. at the 20, across the 40, and he loses the ball and is kicked out of bounds. So Roman Harden trying to fight for yardage, and there's a late flag coming in.
And if I am not mistaken, Zach Ballo is the one who's going to be called for a personal foul at the end of the play. So just going out to cover and just kind of gets into it at the end with a little extra shove.
So I was standing with Coach Fisher on the field
Dead ball foul, personal foul, 46 red, late hit after the play.
before the game, and I was standing there when the refs walked up to Coach Fisher and said to him, hey, let's try and keep this game clean. Let's try and avoid any of what we saw there and what we saw at the end of the first half. So hopefully that's the end of this. So I don't want to see Saddleback starting to put together controllable penalties.
And you and I were talking about it a few weeks back. This is a Saddleback team that has kind of gotten into their own way at times when it comes to those penalties, because we saw them up until last week. They were one of the top 5 teams in the state of California in terms of getting penalties. So as long as you shore those up, you're going to make sure that you're into games.
They're still averaging 10 penalties a game, which is, not ideal. There's the handoff. Pushing his way forward for a pickup of 7 yards was Beverly rushing.
Beverly rushing on the carry. Elijah Gordon on the tackle.
Brings up a 2nd down and 3. And there's a muffed handoff. Looked like it took a minute for Dutton to get control of that ball, and by the time that he did, Beverly Rushing had already run past him and tried to get the ball to him anyway, and the ball ended up on the ground. Going to bring up a 3rd down and 7. Dudden drops back to pass, looking to the outside. Had a man, it was Caden Robbins, but Robbins unable to come back and get to it. Going to bring up a 4th down on a 3-and-out.
Yeah, Dudden was thrown to the break, but by the time that Robbins turns around for that football, it's already on him. So the pass is there, and it would have gotten them to about 2 yards short or so, but it's just a shade thrown behind where the receiver was looking for it.
Here comes the punt. That gets away. Going to take a Chaffey bounce and down at the 38-yard line.
Out of town scoreboard right now. Well, we were talking about Southwestern being a very surprising team in California, and they are going to continue that if the score stays the same. Southwestern is on the road at San Diego Mesa, and they are up 31-17 with the start of the 3rd quarter getting underway there. Again, 31-17, a 14-point difference and lead for the Southwestern Jaguars. Ventura continuing their offensive production against Santa Barbara, 42-0. They lead it at the end of the first half of play, and Cerritos and Canyons continues at 17-10, end of 2.
So Chaffey's got the ball, 1st and 10 on their own 36-yard line. It's Powell. He's dropping back to pass, looking deep. He's got a man wide open, complete across the 20 to the 10, and in for a touchdown. Nathan Enriquez was wide open and just sailed into the end zone.
And that is exactly what Chaffey needs to get themselves back into it. Playing to the strengths. You have a very mobile quarterback, so you allow for those linebackers to take a step in, as it looks initially like it's going to be one of those pickups by Powell, and then he ends up throwing it right over top of the defensive backs, over top of the safeties as well, and in stride. That's the most important thing on that throw. It's in stride to be able to pick up and easily waltz into the end zone.
And in case you're thinking, well, this game is a blowout, this game is over, we're only 6.5 minutes into the second half. We've got nearly the entire second half left to play, and it's a 3-score game. Is it going to be easy for Chaffey to get back into this? Absolutely not. But is it possible? Yeah, they're still in this game.
I mean, you look at it and you say, okay, let's just say they finish off the extra point here. Now you're looking at it as a 33-14 game. That's 19 points. That's still 3 possessions, and all you need is a couple of stops, and you find yourself with the football with a chance to take the lead.
So a false start on the extra point, going to push him back a little bit, making this a 25-yard extra point. And there's another flag.
Dead ball foul. Delay game against the defense. Disconcerting signals by the defense, number 9.
You don't usually see a defensive delay a game, but there we go. And so now the ball goes back to where it was.
Sometimes you may get that if a defensive player is clapping to try and confuse an offensive line.
There's the snap and the hold. The kick is up. And it is good, and our score is 33-14. Saddleback leading. So a 64-yard pass from Evan Powell to Nathan Enriquez.
Now you're looking at a 19-point lead for Saddleback. So again, if you're Chaffey and you're watching this and you're saying, okay, what can we do to get ourselves back into it? You're 8.5 left in the third quarter of play. There's plenty of time, like Matt said. All you need is to be able to get a defensive stop here. You go down and score. You find yourself with a couple of defensive stops and scores. Well, now you find yourself in an opportunity to take the lead. So if you're Chaffey, you're right back into this football game because of that deep strike there by Powell and Enriquez.
But you've got to limit your mistakes. So we've seen every time that they've gotten close, something has happened. They've made a mistake. There's been a big kick return or a big play. They've got to make the plays here if they're going to get back into this game. There's the kickoff. It's going to be taken at the 10, out across the 20-yard line to the 25 to the 30, and brought down at the 33-yard line. Jagger Blaukamp with that kick return.
Now let's flip it over. Because, Matt, we've been talking about what Chaffey can do to get themselves back into the game, and they get a huge play just a few moments ago, especially coming off that safety. But if you're the offense for this Saddleback squad, the last 3 series haven't really gone the way that you've wanted them to. How do you get yourself back into a rhythm and close this game out for a Bobcat fan?
I think at this point, Saddlebacks has got to establish this running game. They haven't been able to get it going so far today. Now is the time. Tyler Dutton going to hand that off to Blaukamp. No, fakes the handoff to Blaukamp. He's going deep to Francisco Martinez, who makes the catch. And just like that, Tyler Dutton says, I don't have to run the ball. I can throw it downfield.
And we might have this one coming right back because there is a flag in the backfield, and it looked like it was going to be a hold.
Everyone's coming back. So a hold on Anthony Hastings. Going to negate that big play. And that is huge for Chaffey. What looked like a big play down the field, now it's a first down and long for the Bobcats. Dutton going to give the ball to Blaukamp. Blaukamp, not much there, if anything. Never ends up actually going down, but his progress is stopped. A late push at the end, but there's not going to be a flag on it. Might have been a little NBA level flopping there.
Just trying to make sure that they see that the official's taking a look in their direction. That's all.
Second down and 20. Dutton looking to pass. Lots of pressure, is going to get away from it. Rolling out to his right. He's going to end up running with this. Gets across the 30 to the 35, and he's brought down at the 36-yard line. A late flag in. Where it stands, it would be a 3rd and 8, but we'll see what this penalty is. So a little discussion.
Dead ball foul. Sportsmanlike conduct against defense, number 5. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Jalen Carter with that personal foul. And so instead of a 3rd and 8 and a huge chance to get a big turnover on downs for Chaffey, a personal foul gives Saddleback the first down in Chaffey territory.
And Matt, you said that if Chaffey's going to get back into it, they have to limit their mistakes. And that's one thing that you cannot have, especially since you are about to force a 3rd and long.
There's the snap and the handoff to Blaukamp. Blaukamp goes straight up the middle and picks up 8 on that. And that penalty is one of those, seems like one of those that at the end of the game you look back and you're like, we were right there, we had our chance. Blaukamp still in the backfield, 4 wide receivers. Dutton drops back to pass, looking across the middle. He's got Martinez. Martinez makes that catch to the 35 and brought down at the 34. Another first down for the Bobcats. Jalen Carter with the tackle. First down and 10, 34-yard line. Dutton getting pressure, trying to roll away from it, gets away, gets that ball away, but unable to complete it. Was looking for Mason Fromm.
We've seen this game take a lot more methodical pace here in the second half, because that first half seemed like both offenses were real eager to get on the field and get themselves rolling before the defense had a chance to really catch their breath or get set. Now either side is really taking their time to get up to the line of scrimmage.
Dutton fakes the handoff, gets that one off through the hands of Martinez. Martinez looked like he had an easy first down there, but unable to come up with the catch. Took his eye off of it, looking downfield. So once again, another big opportunity for Chaffey. It's a 3rd down and 10. Again, they get the big stop here. There's the snap. Halliburton in the backfield before anyone can blink an eye. Dutton is able to scramble for the first down, but there is a flag. And it's going to be a hold on the Bobcats. Seemed like Halliburton was in the backfield the second that ball was snapped.
Yeah, and Dutton did a very good job of selling that ball was going to be a handoff as well. But if you're Saddleback, now you kind of marched yourself out of an excellent opportunity to get on the board again. Because as it would have stood, it looked like it was going to be about a 3rd and 4-ish. Now you're looking at close to 3rd and 17.
So here we go, 3rd down and 20. Dutton's got 4 wide receivers. Looking downfield, he's going to maybe run with this. Gets that ball away. There is no intentional grounding there. Mike and Cash hanging on to Tyler Dutton as he gets that ball away. But a big stop for Chaffey there.
And Dutton wasn't really thrilled at the end of that one because he felt that he had 2 wide receivers that should have been a little further along in their progress. But instead, now all of a sudden Chaffey with a great chance here to be able to get themselves back into it.
There's the punt. And it takes a very nice Saddleback bounce and rolls inside the 10.
It's one that you needed if you're the Bobcats because remember, each of their last 3 punts have taken a Chaffey bounce and pop back towards the Bobcats. In this case, he ends up getting the roll that he's looking for and wants, and it's an extra 11 yards tacked on to the end of it.
So it's an important drive for Chaffey. They've got 91 yards to go if they want to get to the end zone. And at this point, trailing by 19 points, they're basically going to need to score touchdowns. They can't drive down and score field goals, so they're going to need to go 91 yards. There's 5 minutes, 11 seconds remaining here in the 3rd quarter. Bobcats leading this game by 19 points, score 33-14. That's a handoff to Brennan White, and he is blown up in the backfield.
You see the replay here. He ends up just immediately getting tackled there. And if you're looking at it from Chaffey's perspective, you got to get yourself up the field in a hurry because you can't march yourself backwards immediately after going -5 on your first offensive play call.
So Latui not fooled at all on that play. There's the snap. Roll out to the right. Complete to the 20-yard line.
And Powell,
catch made by Brennan White.
Powell, when he delivers the football, it's on a line and it is a strike. Every single time his receivers end up looking up to get the ball, it's in their hands real quick and it's a real flat ball. So if you're a receiver for this Chaffey squad, you find yourself getting just a little inch of separation on your defensive back, you got to present your hands very quickly because Powell can deliver it.
Powell takes the snap. Looking downfield, gets a little bit of pressure. He's going to roll with this, and he's going to take off out across the 30, and he's going to run out of bounds at the 35-yard line, and another first down for Chaffey.
And if you're watching Powell and thinking to yourself, well, I love to be able to watch quarterbacks who want to let that football fly. Initially, he looked like he was loading up for a 45-yard pass on the opposite sideline before he decides better of it because there were 3 different defensive backs on that far side that would have been covering it and decides to take it himself. Powell in the second half has been very good for Chaffey. You have that laser for a strike that was over 60 yards earlier. Now he's starting to get them rolling.
It's a 17-yard completion to Brennan White, and then the run by Powell, and Chaffey is moving the ball. Lots of pressure, and Powell just floats that one up and gets this one out of bounds. We've seen a couple times Chaffey quarterbacks floating the ball up in the air and then the ball being taken back the other way. Powell able to get that one out of bounds where no one can get to it. Second down and 10.
So the key for this, if you're a Saddleback fan, is going to be those defensive ends. Marley McKenzie, Luke Averill, in addition to Kaleo Brown, Alex Newcomb out if he's out there as well. They have to set the edge and make sure that Powell doesn't have enough time to be able to move his way up the field.
Powell rolls to his right, gets that one away, but just no room there to complete that pass.
Pass incomplete for Chaffey. Broken up by the Cats, 23, Max Green. 3rd and 10 now.
Sets up a big third down for Chaffey. Powell takes the snap. He's going to roll to his right once again. Sets up and releases. He's got a man who's got a step, but that pass just too much on it. A good 8 yards out of bounds. No way that was going to come up. He was going to be able to come up with that. And Saddleback's defense gets a stop.
4th down now and 10.
It's tough for Chaffey, too, especially after how well the first 3 plays of that drive went. Well, I take that back. After the first play, the next 3 plays of that drive went, because they were able to get themselves up the field a little bit, and that momentum immediately goes away with the punt.
So a high-hanging punt going to be returned. Not much there. Blaukamp with the return. Maybe 2 yards on that return. Going to be a Saddleback ball on their own 34-yard line, 1st and 10, 33-14 with 2 minutes and 55 seconds remaining here on SportsNetUSA.net. The hometown Saddleback Bobcats on homecoming week, holding on to a big lead. What's going on around the state?
Well, you look at Golden West, we mentioned earlier, 56-14. They end up with a win. You stay down here in Southern California. Allen Hancock 23-21 over Long Beach. But some of the games that are in progress, 31-24 in favor of Southwestern over San Diego Mesa.
Kayvon Clark stuffed in the backfield, loss of 2.
Want to add one more to everything. Pasadena City and Bakersfield. It is a 31-17 lead in favor of Pasadena City College, who had to actually come back in that one.
Dudden takes a snap, drops back to pass, looking to the sideline. He's got Walter there and flags all over. And now we wonder what's going to happen there.
And it might end up just leading to an ejection like Albert Robles mentions. Just you have the guy wrapped up. You have the defensive play made, and it's going to, it look like, be a negative loss or a loss of 4 to 5 yards. There's just no reason to add the extra to the end of the play, and now it's really going to end up hurting this Chaffey defense because it looked like they had a stop. This will be a personal foul at minimum and a 1st down.
Personal foul against defense number 5, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
That's Jalen Carter again, his 2nd personal foul.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that it should be right because like Albert was talking about, like Ed's mentioning, that should be his, and like you just said, 2nd personal foul, which
should be an ejection.
Should be an ejection.
So Albert Robles is saying he believes the first one was a unsportsmanlike conduct and not a personal foul.
So that would be the explanation. Nonetheless, it's still tough considering you were about to get a 2nd down and maybe 19 to go, and then all of a sudden you give up 15 yards and a 1st down.
And, it's easy if you're Chaffey to look up at the scoreboard and see you're down by 19 points and be frustrated and think we're not in this game, but they're really not out of this game. Kayvon Clark takes the handoff and pick up of about 3. And another rough tackle, and another flag comes out. Credit to Saddleback. They're not engaging in this. They're not fighting. They're not taking shots back. As I was saying, it's easy to look up at the scoreboard and see you're down by 3 scores and say, oh, this game is done. Let's get chippy here. But honestly, since halfway through the first quarter, the Bobcats offense has put up 3 points. Like they're not putting up points all like crazy. This game's not over.
32 white, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And if points go on the board for this Bobcats offense, a lot is going to be made about the 30 free yards that they've given up here.
Donovan Brown.
It seemed like it was, in fact, number 34 for the Chaffey defense who ends up getting the call there.
They called it on Donovan Brown, but it looked like it was Isaiah Moreno. So a 1st and 10 at the 28-yard line. The Chaffey defense doing all the heavy lifting for the Saddleback offense on this drive. Dutton's got pressure, gets that one away, looking for Martinez. Martinez unable to get to it. His defender fell down, but when he fell down, kind of tangled up Martinez, and Martinez wasn't able to get to where he wanted to get in time. Taylor Chappell-Love with the pressure there. There's the handoff to Clark. He gets down low, sets himself for contact. Still a little pushy there at the end, but no flags come out. Pickup of 3 sets up a 3rd down and 7. Tyler Dudden letting the clock run. We're under 20 seconds left in the 3rd quarter here. Kayvon Clark switches from the right side to the left. There's the snap. Dudden drops back to pass. Looking across the middle, he's got Martinez. Makes the catch across the 20 to the 10 to the 5. Martinez makes a move. Touchdown! Francisco Martinez. His 2nd touchdown of the season.
And Martinez does an excellent move right at the 3-yard line. He knows that contact is coming up, but what he does is he jumps into the defender on the left-hand side, knowing that the contact is going to push him towards the pylon, and using that momentum, he finds his way right to the orange stick and is able to find his way into the end zone.
Extra point is up and good. It is 40-14 with 4 seconds left here in the 3rd quarter. And that might have been a back-breaking drive for the Saddleback Bobcats.
And again, it goes back to those 2 personal fouls. If you're the defense for Chaffey, you get a big stop. You find yourself looking to force a 2nd or 3rd down with 19-plus yards against this Saddleback offense, and a personal foul forces you to give up a 1st down. What happens on the very next play? Another personal foul gives up another 15 yards. That's 30 free yards given up from the point of contact on each of those that allows for Saddleback to continue their drive. You halt them at the very start, and all of a sudden we're looking at a very different game.
Yeah, you just can't give up that many yards in penalties and expect a team as good as Saddleback to walk away without getting points there. And Chaffey needed to hold them scoreless. Touchdown was the worst thing that could have happened for them. There's the kickoff taken at the 10-yard line, out across the 20 to the 25. And he's going to be brought down right there, and that's going to take us to the end of the third quarter. Through 3 quarters here in Mission Viejo, it is Saddleback 40, Chaffey 14, here on SportsNetUSA.net.
And here on SportsNetUSA.net, again, we welcome you to take a look at the rest of the offerings that SportsNetUSA.net looks to bring you throughout the entirety of the season. Not just for football, because we will have every home game for Saddleback, but also East LA as they get set to continue their trek through their conference play with Albert Robles on the call there. And then we also have some volleyball that we're going to bring you, a little bit of water polo if that's what you're more into, or let's just say you're more of a soccer person. Well, men and women's soccer both are going to be right here on SportsNetUSA.net. So plenty of action to be able to give to you night in, night out, right here on SportsNetUSA.net. All you have to do is go to the homepage on SportsNetUSA.net and see exactly what's coming up from day to day across the week and across the rest of the year.
So it's looking like a good chance that the Bobcats are going to open up conference play with a 2-0 record, trying to make their way to the playoffs.
And like we mentioned earlier, brand new playoff format, which allows for kind of a different look in terms of how you get in seeding-wise. Like we talked about earlier, 6 teams are going to get in. The top 2 seeds are going to get a bye through the first round. The bottom 4 teams will play each other in a top seed of the 4, plays the bottom seed of the 4. Then everything will reseed with the worst team playing the first team, and so on and so on. So it's 2 extra teams getting into the playoffs this year. That's huge for Saddleback to be able to get these opening early wins.
Chaffey sticking with Powell at quarterback here in the second half. He completes that pass for a first down.
First and 10 for the Panthers at the 36.
First down at the 36-yard line for the Panthers. Powell drops back to pass. He's going to run with this. Gets close to the 40-yard line. He's brought down there. Pick up a 4.
Pasadena City College opening things up on Bakersfield, who initially led 17-0 at one point. Well, guess what? It's 45-17. So Pasadena City College is not only back in it, they've taken a big lead.
Powell's pass complete. Justin Benson with the catch. Gets out of bounds, but not before picking up a first down. Evan Powell's definitely settled down from earlier. We haven't seen any turnovers. First down from their own 48-yard line. Powell completes that one. And he heads out of bounds. Not a first down. Pickup of 6. So was Benson once again. Justin Benson been a little busy in this offense today. Second down and 6. Powell gets this one away, incomplete.
He did lead his receiver, but just a shade too much. He was trying to get him over towards the sideline. And if you're Chaffey, you still have a little bit of a chance here to be able to get your offense into a rhythm, get yourself an understanding of what plays are going to work going into next week.
Powell was looking for Edgelane there, unable to get him.
And by next week, of course, I mean into practice, because that's the bye for everyone.
Right.
I did forget about that. But into the following week of play, I should say.
That last pass was on target, but unable to come up with it. Going to bring up a 4th down. It was Justin Benson he was looking for once again, but Benson unable to corral it. Brings up a 4th down and 6. Powell, lots of pressure up the middle, gets that one away, but incomplete.
Nicely defended there by Kyan Wen on the far side of the field. He ends up catching up to it, and he realizes he doesn't have to take the ball away. He doesn't have to do too much on that play. Just make sure that you don't allow for the receiver to get to it. And he smacks that ball to the floor, and it is, in fact, a turnover on downs.
So that's going to give the ball to Saddleback, leading this game by 26 points. There's 12 minutes, 44 seconds remaining. Nicky Johnson comes in to play quarterback. We may have seen the last of Tyler Dudenforth today. There's the handoff up the middle. Beverly rushing. Picks up 10 on the carry. We're going to call it 9. It's going to set up a 2nd down and 1. One of the Panthers slow to get up.
So you look at Saddleback, they were number 11 coming into this week, Matt. And now all of a sudden you look at it and say, okay, Butte lost, which means that you're going to at least get a chance to move up into the top 10. But with the way that they won here today, the first quarter was simply put dominant. Second quarter, Chaffey got back into it and they controlled the quarter. Third and fourth quarters has been, we'll say, a mixed match of Saddleback doing well, Chaffey stepping into their own way. What do you take away from this game, considering that each and every quarter has been a different story of game?
I feel that coming into this game, the expectation was a Saddleback win, right? They came in 3-1. They had just coming off of a big win against Riverside. Chaffey had been struggling. They were 1-3, had lost a couple of pretty tough games, but then really weren't close in their last game against El Camino. So I feel like the expectation was a win. And the way they came out and started this game was like they were on fire and really kind of validating that prediction. The way it slowed down a little bit, I don't know. Do they jump up too much in the rankings? Do they get into the top 10? I don't know if they make it all the way into the top 10. Do they have the talent to be a top 10 team? Absolutely. Nicky Johnson dropping back to pass. And that pass is incomplete. Or was complete. That was a helmet that I saw rolling back. Max Krosky with the catch. I don't know. What are your feelings?
Yeah, I think that if you look at it from a coach's standpoint, because those are the people who end up voting on the polls, they make sure them and the SIDs as well. I think that what you'll end up seeing is them either sit right at number 10 or they'll stay at that number 11 slot. Because you look at Butte, yes, Butte does lose to a team that's ranked outside the top 15 in College of the Sequoias. But that being said, they're not going to drop the number 2 team out of the top 10 after a loss, especially with how well Butte had played going into that game. So let's just say Butte has a catastrophic drop. They go down to number 9. Fullerton ends up with a win. They're going to move probably up into that 8 spot, which leaves either number 10 or staying at number 11 for Saddleback. So kind of a toss-up. I think that if you're Saddleback and you win this game, or had you won this game the same way that you started off this game, you're easily in the top 10.
Right.
But the way that the last 2 quarters have played out, not the way that you would have liked them to go, especially with all the momentum you had after the first quarter of play, I think that they will either be right at 10 or stay at number 11.
Offense, number 62, red, 10-yard penalty remains, second down.
So a couple of runs there for Patrick Baisley. Second one, first one was for 4 yards. The second one they got called for a hold, which is going to move them back and set up a 2nd down and 16. Nicky Johnson dropping back to pass. And Johnson's not going to get out of this one. A big sack brings him down. I mean, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that Saddleback just keeps coming out and winning these games. You know, the rankings will take care of themselves. And as long as they get into the playoff, it doesn't really matter where they're ranked. They just got to keep winning.
Right.
So the rankings will take care of themselves. They just got to keep coming out here and playing well.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that the rankings aren't the highest tiebreaker, or really even a top 3 tiebreaker when it comes down to it. It's all going to be about your matchups, how you played against the common opponents, against your conference opponents as well, and then also how well you were able to do in Southern California across or against other teams that are ranked higher. So the rankings are, if I remember right, they're the 4th tiebreaker. I'll have to double check on that. So our next game I'll have some clarification. But if I remember right, they are the 4th, or it is the 4th tiebreaker. So the rankings, like you mentioned, aren't necessarily the most important thing in terms of, ooh, we have to be in top 5, we have to be top 6. But it is something nice to have to just kind of keep in your back pocket later on in the season.
And it's also important to remember, because some of our viewers might not realize this, this is a conference game. These two teams were not in the same conference last year. They are now. This is a conference win, so this is a very important win for Saddleback, because it is a win in conference.
Yeah, and it pushes you to 2-0 in conference, which ends up sliding you right next to Fullerton College at 1-2 in the conference, and Golden West as well. So 1, 2, and 3, Golden West at number 1, Fullerton number 2, and then Saddleback at number 3. And as of the current moment, if I'm not mistaken, Riverside would slot in at number 4 because of losses to, or a loss to Fullerton. Excuse me, let me get my information right. They lost to Saddleback, who lost to Fullerton. So that should.
But don't forget, you've got Southwestern in there too.
And Southwestern. I did forget about Southwestern, who is having a phenomenal season. So right now, it's going to be tough for these teams, because you know that you have Golden West on the docket coming up later on. Southwestern is right there. So Southwestern, Golden West, number 1 and 2, then Fullerton, then Saddleback, then Riverside. You have a lot of very competitive teams who have been fighting for playoff spots in the last 5 years. And then also Southwestern, who's come out of nowhere. If you're Saddleback, you're very happy to be at 2-0 right now.
So Saddleback going to punt this one away. And that ball is fumbled. And it looks like Saddleback fell on it. Now it looks like Chaffey retained the ball. So it is Chaffey ball. Let's see if Evan Powell's still out there, or if Noah Isaiah Frisco gets his first snaps of the day. So it is still Powell out there. Scrambles and gets that pass away, but nowhere near his man. Brings up a 2nd down. you got to wonder at what point do these teams start emptying out their bench. Don't want to risk injury this early in the season.
I think in this case, you look at the defense for Saddleback, not quite bench emptying, but you do see a lot of the twos currently out there, their second unit.
Powell swings this one to the outside. It is complete, but Jackson Rios Vargas not going anywhere. He slips and falls and ends up losing a yard. Brings up a 3rd down and long. We tick down to 9 minutes remaining here in this game. Powell, lots of pressure, spins out of it, gets this one away, way over the head of his man. Was looking for Nehemiah Harrison.
4th down now for the Panthers.
He was going to need a Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings, and you would have needed wings to catch that one. It was way over his head. Punt team comes in. There you go. There's another thing we hadn't seen.
Big special teams play there that is made by, it looks like, Damari Washington. So Washington has an interception in this game. He also gets the punt block as well. And he comes off that right edge, and it doesn't look like anyone's really expecting him to be that guy coming across because it's just the single-man pressure. And Washington, with his athleticism, is able to dive in there and not only block it, but get possession as well. So you get a big special teams play for Saddleback, and you have a chance with a 1st and goal from just about the 9-yard line to not only put this game away, but really give Nicky Johnson a chance to open things up and use his best-suited strengths.
So here we go. 1st and goal. Nicky Johnson gets that pass away, but it is incomplete. He was looking for Max Krosky. I'd like to get Nicky Johnson a touchdown here. He's only thrown 1 touchdown on the season. He's gotten plenty of playing time, but hasn't been able to put the ball into the end zone, so it would be nice for him to get a touchdown. There's the handoff to Beverly Rushing, and it's a touchdown. Jalen Beverly Rushing. Pushes the Saddleback lead even further.
So Damari Washington starts it off for the Bobcats, and 2 plays later, you're in the end zone. So like you said, another thing that we hadn't seen in this ball game just ends up taking place. If you're Saddleback, you see yourself getting into the end zone a variety of different ways. You see big-time plays from your special teams, your defense, your offense. All 3 facets have been good for them, and it's allowed them to be able to not only take a big lead, because that's obvious, right? The scoreboard says 47-14. We know that that kind of stands for itself. But when you're able to get success from all 3 different levels of your football team, like we mentioned, offense, defense, special teams, each one of them getting big plays that lead to scores, well, it gives you a lot of confidence, especially going into a bye week and considering that out of the bye week, you're going to have a very tough opponent.
Yeah, so it's about building some of that confidence, building for the future. This game is, for all intents and purposes, over. But instead of just sitting on the ball, just handing the ball off and running it into the offensive line, they're doing some things and trying to get these guys just a little bit more confidence and a little bit more playing time to build for the future. So 47-14, there's 8 minutes, 23 seconds remaining here in this game. There's the kickoff is going to go through the end zone, and it's going to be a touchback.
So now if you're Chaffey, question is, who do you bring onto the field? Powell is the guy who has pretty clearly shown that he can take the offense up the field if he doesn't have really the drops that we saw in the last couple of quarters.
So here we go, 1st and 10 from the 25-yard line. And that is no Isaiah Frisco. The 3rd-string quarterback in now.
And you did mention it just a few drives ago that there would be a possibility of seeing him out on the field. So if you're Chaffey, this is your chance to open up the playbook a little bit more. Give yourself a chance to see what does Frisco have in his, we'll say, specialties, because you have a chance to be able to find out, is he more of a runner? Can he manufacture offense even when it seems like there isn't any? It's a really good opportunity in conference play to get him those extra snaps.
So Simon Zwick gets a couple of runs and picks up a 1st down. Frisco got into the game last week, threw 3 passes, completed 2 of them. I believe one of them was a touchdown, but I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on that. Frisco completes that pass. They get it out across the 50-yard line and brought down at the 48. Ed Killing.
This game's gotten a lot slower as it's gone on. But again, most of that is because these offenses don't have the need to run up to the line of scrimmage as quickly as possible. They have a chance to really relay their play calls and make sure that everyone's in their right spot.
Frisco drops back to pass, going to get some pressure, rolls out to his right. He's going to tuck this one and run, gets out across the 40 and out of bounds, and a nice little run for Frisco. 10-yard run, picks up another 1st down.
Pasadena City and Bakersfield, that's coming to a close, 45-24. Pasadena City is going to get a big-time come-from-behind victory there. Mount Sac and Moore Park, 61-12. Mount Sac is one of the year-in, year-out powers in Southern California, not having the season that they did last year, but they get a big win over Moore Park tonight.
Frisco, lots of pressure. There's a flag down. Looks like a hold. Frisco running for his life. Not going to be able to get away from it. Thrown out of bounds at the 44-yard line.
Continuing with the out-of-town scoreboard, Citrus with a win over Santa Ana. Santa Ana made it real interesting towards the end there with a couple of scores, but it finishes off with a 30-24 win for Citrus. And the Owls get themselves back into the win column. El Camino and Mount San Jacinto. El Camino on the road, 31-19, a 12-point difference between those two sides with 6:24 left to play in the 4th quarter. Cerritos now up by 20 over Canyons at home with 4:27 left to play there. It's 33-13. And then Santa Barbara and Ventura, well, to put it lightly, it's not quite close there. 66-14. The kind of blowout streak continues in Southern California with 9:30 left on the clock. And then finally finishing it off here in Southern California, San Diego Mesa with back-to-back scores. They have now tied it with Southwestern at 31 in the fourth.
Frisco gets that pass away, incomplete. Play before there was a hold, but the Bobcats declined because of a sack on that play. Brings up a 3rd down and 14. Just over 5 minutes left in this game, and we're just playing out the string here. And there is a man down on the field. These are the kinds of injuries that you really hate in a game when the game's over. We're just trying to run out the clock, and they got to go out there and they got to play the plays. So this is a terrible injury to see when it happens at this particular time of the game, in this particular type of game. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. I mean, it's also difficult, too, because you see these guys who don't end up getting that chance to play earlier in the game. And like you said, when you have the opportunity to bring out those second and third string guys to get them more reps, give them more opportunities in a conference game, get them the opportunity to make tape as well, and then you end up seeing, an injury that takes them out of what would be their chance. You always kind of feel for the athlete because they do get that shot, and unfortunately, it's just something that happens late in a ball game where it's stretched out.
That was Charles Abuzame, sophomore linebacker out of Rancho Cucamonga, helped off the field. 3rd down and 14. Frisco drops back to pass, gets that one out, complete. Jay Frazier makes the catch for a 1st down. First down and 10 for the Panthers at the 26-yard line. Just under 4 minutes left in this game. And we hear whistles. Looks like the clock run out. So delay a game, going to bring them back 5 yards. Brings up a 2nd down and 15. Frisco gets that one away, but his man was not looking. That pass is intercepted. Harden going to take this one back all the way, and a 3rd pick 6. Ryan, you were saying they needed to check the record books to see how many two pick 6 games they've got. That is the 3rd pick 6 of this game. Roman Harden.
And Harden is just kind of presented with that ball. It ends up going behind the would-be receiver and lands in his chest, and there's not much else he can do but make sure that he secures it and ends up taking off on that right-hand side. So if you are Saddleback, well, now all of a sudden you're looking at it and saying, all right, well, our defense didn't just play well in this game. They played phenomenal. You get a pick 6 to start the game off. You get another pick 6 in the 3rd quarter. Now you add one here in the 4th quarter. That is exactly what you want from your defensive side.
And you got a safety.
That is very true as well.
Yeah, when your defense outscores the other team, pretty good chance you're going to win that game.
Very, very good chance. And that's the thing. When you look at this program for the Bobcats, you need a strong defense. You need to be able to stay in your conference matchups by having a strong, even scoring defense if you can. And that so far is exactly what it looks like from Saddleback.
So Frisco was looking for Theodore Edkalang. Threw it behind him. Harden was just waiting for it and followed a convoy all the way down for a third pick six of this game. Defense has just been amazing for Saddleback in this game. And we mentioned earlier today that there were a lot of blowouts throughout California, and we have another one right here. 54-14, Saddleback leads this game. 3 minutes, 37 seconds remaining on the clock.
I cannot find most pick sixes in a single game, but I have found most passes intercepted in a game. And let's put it this way, this game is not close. We've had 3 pick sixes in this one, and that's 5 fewer than the most in Saddleback history. They had 8 in a game in 1978 against Arizona Western. So 8 interceptions in a singular game against Arizona Western, and that is the current record for Saddleback.
That is a lot. There's a lot of interceptions in one game. So I mentioned at the outset that turnovers had been a problem for Chaffey coming into this game. I don't think anyone expected quite what we're seeing when it comes to the turnovers. So no Isaiah Frisco still out there at quarterback.
Yeah, go ahead. But wait till Brad's done with all of his stuff. I don't think the chair's going to do anything, so we'll wait just a second after Brad and see.
There's the handoff up the middle. Not much there. That was Zwick with the carry. Simon Zwick been the primary ball handler or ball carrier since around the middle of the third quarter. It was Halliburton up until then, but Chaffey kind of sensing where this game was going.
Can also add to the records that we were talking about after this play.
That's Zwick again.
But going back to the individual returns for a touchdown, there has been one game in Saddleback history where a player returned 2 interceptions for a touchdown. Of course, in this game, that hasn't exactly been the case. 3 different players, 3 different pick sixes. But Scott Patton in 1995 against Southwestern returned 2 interceptions for a touchdown. Now, neither of those interceptions ended up being the longest interceptions returned for touchdowns, as the record was set at 98 yards.
There's Zwick again out across midfield. First down.
And we're getting to the point where we have ourselves a running clock. So this one's going to wrap up pretty quickly here in just a couple of moments. And, Matt, you look at Saddleback, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest, but it was dominant at times.
Absolutely. The offense clearly not what we were expecting from them on offense. We were expecting to see a lot of running. They've been dominant in that run game all year long. They were not able to control this game with their run game. So you look up at the scoreboard and you see 54-14, and you're like, they weren't able to do what they wanted to do. And as a viewer, you're like, what do you mean? They're winning by 40 points. But they weren't. They were not able to do what they normally want to do on the offensive end. They could not get that run game established, which is going to be important moving forward because you can't count on your defense scoring 23 points every game.
Especially going into the game coming out of the bye. That's going to be Mount San Jacinto, who historically, when they moved up to the National Division, has continually had a very good defensive line. And that was something that they showed very heavily last season. So if you're Saddleback and you didn't get the run game going, like you mentioned, Matt, that they would have wanted, well, now you flip it over to the bye week. You have a chance to make corrections, and you have a chance to go into that Mount San Jacinto game and have plenty of film and say, all right, we didn't do what we wanted to do. How do we get back on track?
Those are two big games coming up after that bye, the Mount San Jacinto and then the San Diego Mesa.
And, of course, as we mentioned a few moments ago, speaking of San Diego Mesa, they tied it up at 31 with under 5 minutes to play in that one.
I remember for those of you who are looking forward to that game against Mount San Jacinto, that is a Thursday night game. That is not a Saturday game. Frisco picks up 5 on the run to the right side. Second down and 6. Frisco looking to pass, getting lots of pressure, and he's going to be brought down in the backfield. Looking to get...
We'll have to give you a final from Southwestern and San Diego Mesa later when we get more information, because official box scoring has that football game ending at a final of 31-31. And I have a feeling that that's not how that finished.
So that brings up a third down and 13. Frisco gets this one away, and him and his receiver were not on the same page there as that ball sails over his head. Yeah, the box score for that Southwestern San Diego Mesa game has San Diego Mesa putting up a single point to tie the game.
A one point safety right there. That's what that is. And if that is the case, I want to know exactly what happened in that football game.
We got whistles on the punt. Just 59 seconds left in this game.
So let's switch it over to Chaffey's side. If you're this Chaffey team, you saw a lot of low spots. You saw some very, very high spots. And I think that if you're looking for a quarterback, Powell is there. Powell is a very good arm, and he sees the field extremely well. If you're Chaffey's coaching staff, I know that the score shows a 40-point difference. But if you're Chaffey's coaching staff, what do you take away from this?
I think the biggest thing that you got to take away from this is the fact that your defense, you look up and it says 54 points, and your gut reaction is to say our defense didn't play well, but they did. They did play well in this game. Not only did Saddleback have those, returns for touchdowns, but they had a lot of short fields, and so they had a lot of easy points. And so that 54 points wasn't entirely bad defense. And the same way we talked about how Saddleback wasn't able to get their run game going, that's got to be a plus for Chaffey, that they were able to shut down a very good running game.
And you look at that three-headed monster, essentially, of rushing attack for this Bobcat offense. And like you said, none of them were really explosive here tonight. Yeah, if you look at the cumulative stats, it's going to be in favor of the Bobcats, and you'll look at it and say, oh, okay, well, they got over 100 yards rushing, but it wasn't the explosive way that they're used to. It wasn't the way that they wanted to set it up. And that defensive line, honestly, for Chaffey, looked very good tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Kayvon Clark, 38 yards rushing. Beverly Rushing, 28 yards rushing. Leonidas Bell, 17 yards. They didn't put up big numbers. The biggest rusher of the day was Tyler Dutton.
And, I mean, you said it earlier, 21 yards off of a rush by Nicky Johnson. You take that away, and you're under 100 yards.
Yeah.
So that last rush will end up finishing things off.
So we're going to watch that clock tick down to a final score. So I want to thank you, as always, for joining us here on SportsNetUSA.net. I am Matt Rogers alongside Ryan Osborn, Albert Robles, Ed Ford. We thank you all for tuning in. Tonight's final score, Saddleback Bobcats 54, the Chaffey Panthers 14. Thank you and have a great night.